Good morning. I have sent you a batch of poppy references, and I have rubbed some yellow ochre over a gessoed cradled wooden panel. This is a 1.5 inch thick one, and I have chosen this reference because it's very loose, and the poppies themselves are not very much articulated, but if you look at this, you know they're poppies. I like it because it isn't very developed. It creates the illusion, and I like the dark light combinations. I like the warm cool combinations, and just the general freshness of this. I don't know who did it. I can see some scratching in here, but I don't know who did it because I picked it off of a Pinterest page. Anyway, this is what I'm going to be doing. I use some soft chalk just for placement, that you know that my piece is not going to end up looking anything like this, but it is just an interesting placement of the elements. My palette is very much the same. I haven't changed it a bit. I just need to add some more white to it. Particularly, I made a bunch of whites with blues, so that's what that cluster is. So I need to have some white to work with my warms. And I'm just kind of looking forward to playing with this. Hope you will too. I'm just stopping for a minute because, as you can see, I started to get my reds and oranges muddy. We all know that blue-green is the complement to red-orange, and that's what I've got going here. And the interesting thing is those are the two colors that are the coolest and the hottest, and they make mud the quickest. So I'm going to leave this for a little while to let these colors start to set up, because I really don't want to have a lot of mud. So I'll put it away for now and let it dry and do a little bit more down the road. Okay, so it's dry enough that I can play with it. And I'm just lightening these ones up here that are kind of going to be set back a little bit. And I'm not being too careful about the shape of poppies per se. I'll do a little bit better shaping as I get closer to being done, but I'm still just sort of blocking in the colors. And I'll start to fill in the garden background in just a minute. Even though there are lots of different types of poppies, these are undiscernible as far as I can see. But I do think that most poppies really do have that luscious cup, and that their petals look like crepe paper. So these kind of fresh, quick strokes kind of work for me. These will take on some shape a little bit later on, but not much, because this is in a field, and it's like I said in the email, it's not a botanical. So it's going to be just a little suggestion of a field of poppies. I'm going to bring in just the feeling of some of this reference that's in your packet. Not a lot, because I don't want the landscapey look. I want this kind of intimate garden space. But you can see that this reads poppies, but it may not be. So I love the darks as it is on this one, the darks. And I love the cooling down of the blues and the warmth of the yellows. And then, of course, all the reds. I think this will be a good combination for what I hope to make happen here. I just wanted to let you know, too, that since I showed you last week the open acrylics, I have been mixing those with some of my main colors here, and it seems to work that my colors aren't drying out as fast. They still are, but not to the extent that they were. Well, I have been looking at my work and this reference, and I'm not loving this so much as wanting to integrate these two. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why. We have learned that in composition you want something to be dominant. Here I've got about a third of this yellow, about a third of this blue-green, and about a third of this red-orange. That creates conflict for me. So I'm going to see how I can meld in some of this to make it more dominantly red-orange and not so much of the red-blue. I don't know if I can do it the way I want to, but that's what I'm seeing. Have added Indian yellow to my palette. You might note that over the last several months I've been using a lot of yellow ochre, which I love, but the feeling I want with these poppies is a warm yellow, and the yellow ochre is kind of, as much as I love it, earthy, but the Indian yellow might do the trick. So I don't know how this is going to end up. I'm kind of at the end of my rope, but this happens when I'm painting for my own self, and not just classroom where I'm supposed to know something. But we'll see. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. This is being a struggle, but I'm becoming happier with it. As you can see, I'm not a slave to either reference, but I do like the palettes of both of these. So, as we know in acrylics, I put down some very, very light tint of the yellows here. And look at how they've dried. They're darker, so I'm going to go back in and tweak that a little bit. I was trying to stay away from developing full blossoms of poppies, but that's the lesson. So I have kind of gone, I've amplified these 3 blossoms that will become more realistic looking. These others will kind of fade into my composition. I am liking the palette, and I will continue with that. But these 3 will be my kind of developed poppies. I came across one of my earlier demos that I did in a class with you several years ago. This is more realistic, of course, but it's still impressionistic. It's not developed like a botanical. So if it ends up that this kind of painting of poppies doesn't work for you, then certainly I included enough references that you could do something more like this. Well, before I overwork it, this is going to stand for the time being. I may tweak it a little more, but the more I tweak it, the more realistic it gets, and I wasn't really looking for that. But I've got the combination of elements that I like from both of these. I really kind of overdeveloped the poppies, but this is a class project, and we'll see how it stands. I might do it again on my own and try to make it a little more abstract, but this is for class, and it is what it is. I may tweak it, or I might paint over the whole thing, who knows. But I hit values, I hit color, I hit a good palette, I think. It's kind of a very warm palette with cools in it. And it kind of says what I hoped it would say, only I got a little heavy-handed. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing yours.